All right, folks, welcome back to the channel and to another edition of Frequently Asked Questions. This week's question hasn't been asked of me too much yet, but I expect when people find out what I've been up to this week that I'll get this question a lot more, which is why I preemptively decided to film this video. And that question is, what is it like to play Hickory golf at Bethpage Black? Might sound crazy, especially if you've watched this channel before and you've seen my high handicap ability on the golf course. But it's one of these golf courses that I think is on most people's bucket list, and I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to play it. The circumstances of me playing this week were that my buddy Tim was in town for our annual Villa Rica golf tournament. It's a two-person tournament between me and Tim that we've been doing for about 7 or 8 years, and we'll just kind of pick a part of the country and play several golf courses and do some different formats in competition with each other to play for this trophy that we've made. And I have not won the event at all up to this year. So it was my turn to host the tournament this year. Tim flew out to Long Island. He was here for a few days, and we played 4 golf courses, 3 of which you'll see on the channel this summer through course vlogs. And one of those is Bethpage Black. So I'm excited to tell you that there will be a full every shot course vlog coming up of my round with Hickory clubs at Bethpage Black. But I was so excited about the opportunity to play it this week that I wanted to talk to you about it while it was still fresh, and also just kind of show you some highlights, because it will be probably a few months before you see the full course vlog. I've got all the course vlogs from Scotland. I've got a lot of other domestic course vlogs that I've filmed. So this one's probably going to be toward the end of summer 2023. And if you're watching this video after that, just check the description for the link to the video to the full course vlog. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it right now because it's still fresh in my mind, and it was such a cool experience. The first thing I'll say about Bethpage Black is it is hard. That is, it goes without saying if you know anything about the golf course. I went into the round knowing that distance was going to potentially be an issue for me, but I was surprised to find out that the distance wasn't so much the issue as much as the approach into the greens. And we'll talk a little bit more about the details of that in a moment. But I want to first, if you've watched the channel before, you know I have a love-hate relationship with keeping score. And there are certain instances, though, where I like to keep score. And that was the case at Bethpage Black. It seems to me that if you're playing one of the hardest golf courses in the world, it's a nice opportunity to figure out how you match up with it. And I didn't have any trouble whatsoever keeping score of this round, even though I knew it was going to be a huge number, because I wanted to have a baseline. The process for actually getting on Bethpage Black as a New York State resident is a lot easier than I expected it to be. If you've ever played Bethpage Black and you're not a New York State resident, you know that there is a bit of a process, and it's kind of a rite of passage where you usually spend the night in your car the night before you want to play. You get up early, or you don't get up at all. You just stay up all night and then play the course early on. And I thought that I was going to have to do the same kind of thing with Tim, but I was happy to find out that you could book tee times as a New York State resident a week in advance, and all I really had to do was kind of keep checking the day that we wanted to play, maybe every 3-4 hours that first day when it's a week out, and just keep tabs on the site. And all I did was basically that process for about maybe 8 hours. The first day I had an opportunity to book a time on the day that we wanted to play. And sure enough, by the evening, a bunch of tee times showed up in the afternoon and evening, including one at 3:10, which was perfect because I figured, considering it takes 5 hours at least to play a round at Bethpage Black, the 3:10 tee time would be enough for us to get done before it got dark. And that's exactly what happened. So it all worked out how I'd hoped it would. And considering, again, how easy it is to book a tee time as a New York State resident through the online reservation system, I expect I'll be playing Bethpage Black a lot more. I really enjoyed the course. Even though it beat me up, I really enjoyed the round, and I think it's a beautiful course, and it's a rare opportunity to play a course that's set up more for the pros than it is for the general public. But that's not to say the general public's not invited, because the public is invited to play this course, and they do in droves. One of the things you need to expect when you play Bethpage Black is that every tee time will be full, and there will be foursomes for every tee time. So that's why it's pretty much a minimum 5-hour round. There are also no power carts on the course, so everyone's walking, which I think is fantastic. But it's a long course, obviously. If you know anything about this course, you know it's long and it's difficult. And the conditions of the course in this time of year, which late May, are not as hard as they get to be in the summer, from what I understand. The rough becomes a lot thicker, a lot lusher, and it's not any fun right now, and I can't imagine what it is in the middle of the summer, though I guess I'll find out when I play again later this year. But anyway, I knew going in that distance might be an issue for me. Not might be, would be an issue for me. I had looked at the scorecard ahead of time, and I decided right away I was going to play the forward tees. I wanted to find the most forward tees that I could there, and that's the yellow tees. They measure out at 6,200 yards. So honestly, from a yardage perspective, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. The yardage off the tee to the fairway is probably a bigger concern if you're a shorter hitter like I am. Though even then, I think there were only 2 holes on the course where I had a large enough carry between the tee and the fairway that I couldn't quite make the fairway, even with a good shot. And again, if you've watched my channel, you know that I don't play with a brassy or a wood if you're new to Hickory golf. Instead, I use a driving iron. And the driving iron's more consistent for me and actually gets the ball out further than I was with my brassy anyway. But that all said, even a good shot for me with the driving iron's only going to carry about 190 and then roll out if the ground is favorable to about 205. So on average, I'm only carrying maybe 175, 180 and rolling out to about 195. So that was what my biggest concern was when I got on the course, was how many instances am I going to have where I have to carry a considerable length to get to the fairway from the tee. But again, I was happy to find out that it was really only 2 holes that I had any issue with that. The bigger issue, not just for me playing with Hickory clubs, but for anybody playing modern, any kind of club, is the fact that the green complexes are enormous and the bunkers are out of this world. I mean, it feels like you're playing in sand dunes from the moon or something. The scale of the green complexes and the bunkers is unlike anything I've ever experienced on a golf course, and they are super hard. Tim was having a lot of difficulty just using his regular sand game to get out of the bunkers because he wasn't used to the sand. But the sand is thick. I don't really know how to describe the sand other than, again, using Tim's example, he couldn't just do the classic kind of thump the wedge behind the ball, and take sand. The ball just wasn't going anywhere. And a lot of instances that Tim found himself in were not only that he had to get the ball out of the sand, but that he had to clear a sheer face that, so basically get the ball up in the air high immediately. I was fortunate in that the instances that I found myself in the bunker, I was able to actually get out pretty easy. I think there may only have been 1 hole where I kind of screwed up the first attempt and had to do another, but I chalk that up more to my inability to get out of the sand, period, not so much the bunker itself. But I will say, watching the other 2 guys in our group, Mike and Bill, who drove out from Brooklyn, younger guys playing with modern clubs, they were in the bunkers all day long, especially Bill. And there were several instances where he just picked up. I mean, he tried to get out 3-4 times and he's just like, I'm done. I can't get out of this bunker. And he'd just pick up and then, wait for us to finish the hole. And I expect that probably happens to quite a few people. Tim was having a harder time. His swing was kind of giving him some issues, which was disappointing. But he also acknowledged that the course, from where he was playing it, he played from the middle tees, and I'll just tell you right away, the middle tees were 6,757 yards. So that's not a very long course for Tim. But again, when you've got that length and you're setting yourself up with a second shot that's out of just a little bit out of your comfort zone, and you're also recognizing that you probably need to club up from whatever the yardage is because you have to clear the elevated bunkers and green complexes, it's a long day, and if you're not on your A game, the course is going to eat you up. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Tim. That's what happened with me. I was, for some reason, I was hitting, well, not for some reason, I feel like I've been striking the ball pretty well lately, and I've actually, off the tee, been, really consistently straight lately. So I wasn't, finding myself off to the left and right, and that was Tim's issue, using driver. He was on, consistently just off track. And once you get off track at Bethpage Black, you're in for a long hole because the rough is unforgiving. And really what you need to do, and we found this out too late really in the round, but if you're in the rough, there's no sense trying to figure out how you can advance the ball. Really all you should do is try to get into the nearest part of fairway. Just take your medicine, get out of the rough immediately. And there's too many instances where both Tim and I and everyone in our group just wanted to try to advance the ball, and not waste a shot just getting it back into the fairway. And the rough knows that's what you want to do, so it makes you pay. And it wasn't even, there were some instances of balls that were in the rough that had just completely sunk, like maybe 2.5 balls deep into rough. But for the most part, I could find the ball in the rough. It's just that it's so thick that it catches your club, and whatever you're trying to use to get out, it just limits its potential immediately as soon as it hits the blades of grass, and you're lucky if you can just squirt it out a little bit. So I actually ended up using the Walter Hagen Ironman sand wedge quite a bit to get myself out of those rough situations. And once I figured out that it was better to just take your medicine, it went a lot better for me getting out of the rough, but it was no fun. That all said, when you go into a round like this at Bethpage Black, it's going to be hard, and you kind of check your expectations at the door for that reason. At least that's how I approached it. The rating for the tees that I was playing were 71.4, and the slope was 144. So it is by far the most difficult course I've ever played. And considering my current Hickory handicap of 26.8, my course handicap at Bethpage Black was 35 for this round. So I was basically getting 2 strokes a hole for every hole but one. And figured with that in mind that double bogey golf was a good target for me. Tim went in with a much lower handicap, and his target was bogey golf. So, if you set some realistic goals for yourself, and that's kind of what you're aiming at on each hole, there were several holes where I was in position to do much better than double bogey, and actually did better than double bogey. But the holes where I was having trouble, you sort of relax a little bit because you're like, all right, I'm on a par 5 here. I'm thinking specifically of number 4, which is a par 5, 438 from the forward tee. So it's not a really long hole, but it features one of Tillinghast's characteristic great hazards in a very specific strategic location that makes you think about what you want your second shot to be, or third shot if you're me. And basically, if you're not in the fairway on your tee shot and putting yourself in position to get over the great hazard for your second, you have to lay up again, and you're just adding strokes up. So in my head, I played that hole with double bogey in mind, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to try to get up there, for par. I just need to try to get up there for a 7. I hit a terrible tee shot on that hole, and I don't know what it is about me and par 5s, but anytime I know I got to carry a lot of distance, or I have to, I'm playing a par 5, so I've got a lot of hole ahead of me, I end up, just totally muffing the drive, and that's what happened there. So that's one of those unforced errors, though, that I think next time I play, I won't do that, hopefully. And I can see a lot of instances on my scorecard where I can improve my first attempt at playing the black course. So I ended up with a 117, so I was far higher than double bogey golf. But I felt really confident with how I approached the course, and was very pleased actually by the end of the round with how I played. I hit plenty of good shots. I hit plenty of bad shots too, but that's the key, is that the course didn't necessarily cause me to hit a lot of the bad shots that I did. It was just my, either over swinging, or I was getting tired, and, I found myself, with poor course management, trying to take off more than I should have, getting out of the rough, or whatever the case may be. I suppose the course has a role to play in that, thought process, but I look at it as more of like I put some bad swings on the ball, and the strokes added up for that reason, not necessarily because the course was so difficult. So I don't know if I'll ever play a course harder than this. I mean, I suppose I could try to play the forward or the middle tees. I'll never play the tips. There's no reason to do that. But even if I played for the middle tees, you know, it's really the rating there is 70. I'm sorry, let me look here. 77.5, which is high, and I'm sorry, 74.2 for the middle tees rating and 148 slope. The tips are 77.5, 155 slope. So yeah, I could make it harder for myself, but I don't know if I'm ever going to play harder than the forward tees. I loved the challenge of it as it was, and Tim was frustrated mostly just because of his swing, but he still enjoyed the experience, and that's kind of how you walk away from Bethpage Black, is you know you're going to get beat up, you get beat up, and then at the other side of it, you still had a good time. So I think, you know, part of that is just the fact that it's such a beautiful golf course. Again, the ability to play a course that's set up for pros, and you know, when we're playing it now in 2023, we're 2 years removed from its next showcase as the home of the 2025 Ryder Cup. So it was very cool for both Tim and I to play that course now. And in 2025, we'll watch the Ryder Cup and we'll be able to tell each other, yeah, hey, we were over here. This is what happened with this shot. And in fact, when we got back home after our round, we watched highlights of both the 2002 U.S. Open that Tiger Woods won and the 2019 PGA Championship that Brooks Koepka won. And we were able to kind of pick out certain differences of the course between now and then, and also instances where Tiger was standing close to where we had a shot, or Brooks did this near where we had a shot. So it's always awesome when you can do that, and you can play a course and then watch it on TV, watch the pros take on the same course, and you know, be completely, utterly amazed by their ability and what they're able to do on a course like that when you just played it and you're like, I don't know how that's possible. I can't, I don't have that shot in my bag, and I don't even know how you could do that shot. You know, that's what the pros are able to do that we can't. So with that, you know, I think I'll just show you a little bit more of the highlights, but I don't want to spoil too much of the course vlog that will come. And I can't, you know, recommend Bethpage Black enough. Woo! I'm looking forward to playing it again, and we'll see what I can do score-wise. But you know, I'm gonna kind of use this as a gauge to see where my game is at. You know, 117 is my baseline now going forward, and I'm interested to see if I can improve on that each time I play there. Now that I understand the course and I know the course. There were several instances where, you know, you could have had a caddy to tell you this, but we didn't. But you know, instances where you couldn't see where the next shot was going to go, or you didn't know where you had to be. And now that I've played the course once and I'm familiar with those blind shots and those areas, you know, I'm eager to play it again because I'm optimistic that I can do much better than 117. And even if I don't keep score for my other rounds, I'm always going to keep score at Black just because I think it's a good gauge of figuring out where your game is at. If you get the chance to play Black, do it. Actually, that reminds me. So I mentioned, you know, playing Hickory golf there. Other people have played Hickory golf. I'm not the first person to do that, obviously. And specifically, one of my Patreon channel members, one of the Hackerbackers, Zach Bellinger, he has played Black with Hickory clubs, and I believe he's played it from the tips. Zach is a very good golfer. And that, you know, his really good golf skill has transferred over to his modern, or from his modern clubs to his Hickory clubs as well. So he kind of floated the idea of playing Bethpage Black together later this summer. And now that I'm kind of oriented to it and understand it better, I'm looking forward to that potentially happening. And I'm mostly looking forward to filming someone, a really good golfer, playing Black with Hickory clubs. And so I'm hopeful that that works out with Zach. But yeah, until then, I'll leave it at that, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care.